When you're mixing completely in the box, meaning you're doing all of your production inside of your computer and you're not using any outboard analog gear, then you can tend to have some rather flat, sterile sounding mixes. As a result, there's tons of plugins out there that are designed to emulate analog gear, and some of the best type of plugins out there to help you warm up your sound is the use of a tape saturation plugin. And recently, Baby Audio just came out with a new tape saturation plugin called Taip, which uses artificial intelligence. Let's check it out. Hey, I'm Reagan Ram with OrpheusAudioAcademy.com, helping you make better music and grow your fan base online. And here we are in Logic, and I have the Taip plugin pulled up here. I'll go over the controls in a second, but first I just want to show you quickly what it sounds like here on my mix bus. So I'll play it without it in and then turn it on. By the way, if you decide after watching this review that you want to grab this plugin for yourself, then be sure to use my code OAA at checkout so you can get 10% off. So pretty cool. So immediately what you can hear, what it's doing is it's warming up the entire track. It's kind of bringing things more forward and gluing them together as well with some subtle compression. And it's also just adding, that great gritty but smooth tape saturation to the sound here. So that's really cool. So let's check out and see what exactly this plugin, what its features are, and different ways that you can use it in your mixes. So Baby Audio, their approach with this plugin, their goal was to create the ideal tape machine for the DAW era, combining an authentic vintage sound with a modern feature set. Its parameters will let you customize the right tape flavor for any need. And I think it definitely does that, right? I've worked with some other tape emulation plugins where it's really designed to emulate an actual tape machine. We were actually working with tape, and you have different like tape speeds, like IPS, right, inches per second, that you're dealing with IPS, and different features that maybe are a little confusing for you if you're not, that familiar with tape. So first off, we have the drive control, and traditional tape machines, they were designed to color the sound as little as possible. It's kind of ironic, back in the day when people were mixing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, noise, saturation, that was all the enemy to producers and engineers, because every piece of gear you had would color the sound some way and add in some noise, right? You had from the mixing console to compressors to any kinds of effects, and of course tape. So their goal was to remove as much sound as, noise as possible from recordings, but that was, not really possible to do. And then today, right, with everything so clean and sterile, people are now wanting to introduce that noise back in. So that's why we have tape machines like this, and that is what the goal of tape is. It's not designed to be transparent. It's meant to help you color your sound. And so you can use the drive knob to add just as much color as you need, from a subtle touch of heat to heavy distortion. So you could even use this as a distortion plugin if you wanted to. Then you have the mix/tape flanging. And so this mix slider here, it lets you run your tape in parallel. So meaning you can have the affected sound and the dry sound of whatever it is you have this plugin on at the same time, so you're getting a blend of both sounds. You can also combine this mix and wear to get a classic tape flanging effect. And this is caused by the wow and flutter of the wear control running in parallel with the dry track. And this was a very common sound, again, used back in the 80s and 70s by bands like Queen. And then we have model here. We can choose between single and dual. And while single is a regular tape emulation, dual creates a series of 2 tape emulations chained together under the hood, each applying half of the drive value. So this will add slightly more weight to your signal. Then you have the low shape and the high shape, and these sliders let you saturate the low or high end more or less than the rest of the frequency spectrum. So if you're wanting to add, more of the saturation to just the high end or just the low end, you can do that with these sliders here. For example, if you want to warm up a drum bus without distorting the low frequencies. Then you have glue, which is really nice, and this applies the effect that tape machines are known to introduce a pleasing compression-like effect due to their low dynamic range. And so tape lets you add this effect or even exaggerate it, so you can use glue for subtle cohesion or as a compressor. And of course, no tape plugin would be complete without a noise option here. So this lets you just add in tape noise. So you can put in, add in some of that tape hiss sound if you want. So it sounds kind of like an old cassette tape, or you can avoid it altogether. So this could even be fun for, automating, right? If you want to have a sound that sounds part of your song that sounds really lo-fi and dirty, you can pull up that noise and then like maybe pull it back as you move into the chorus or something. Then you also have presence. And so part of tape warmth comes from an attenuated high end. So, right, think about it. If you pull down the high end, and what you're going to be left with is more of the warmer frequencies. And so that's great, but maybe you don't want to lose that presence. You want to get the warmth without sacrificing the presence. Well, that's what this presence attribute is here. This allows you to decide how much of that attenuation you want. You can bring back the brightness that is sometimes lost on tape. Then you have wear, which we mentioned combines wow and flutter, and an altered frequency response curve as well to emulate a worn out tape machine. So if you want to get that really lo-fi, really dirty sound, that's where you can use wear. And then you can also choose between normal or hot input levels without affecting the output volume. And so hot here would just make it more distorted. Then you have auto gain, which allows you to add more drive while keeping a consistent plugin output level. So this is really handy because sometimes, or a lot of the time, you just want to warm up a sound or get some more distortion without actually making it louder. And so rather than trying to balance that out yourself, you can just have that auto gain level in so it keeps it where it is at volume wise. All right, so we have it here on this drum kit. So I'll just have this playing without, and then I'll bring it in. So you can definitely hear how that is adding in some distortion, but it's also kind of bringing out the drums, is kind of bringing them more forward and also just warming them up and gluing them together. So that is really cool sound right there. And so let's hear that with the whole mix now. So it's definitely very subtle, but it definitely adds some more punch, really brings those drums forward so they help cut through the mix more. And they just feel weightier, they feel richer than without it. They feel kind of empty, kind of cold without this tape plugin here. And by the way, you can also change the interface color if you want, so we can make it gray if we wanted to here. And let's listen to it on this little ARP I have playing here as well. So again, it's warming up the sound, it's bringing it more forward, and we also hear it kind of warming up those higher frequencies, so it's allowing it to kind of cut through more. So that is really cool as well. And let's listen to it now on these chords. So it's doing a lot here. It's warming it up, obviously gluing it together. It's also adding some wear to it. So I'm getting some of that wow and flutter. And so it just kind of gives it a little dirtier kind of sound. It's also adding some presence to help it cut through and more distortion to those higher frequencies as well. So it sounds really cool. It definitely makes it sound richer, warmer, makes it sound more analog, like it's a real synth, and really contributes to the synthwave feel I'm trying to get here in this song. So let's listen to all of these together now, playing at once in the mix. If you decide you want to grab tape for yourself, then be sure to use my code OAA at checkout so you can get 10% off. By the way, if you're interested in seeing me review some other cool plugins, then check out my other video that's playing on the screen right now, which covers my 7 favorite free effects plugins for creating synthwave music. All right, have a great day, keep creating, and I'll see you in a future video.